The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show, presented by Senior Care Centers, is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. AT&T, mobilizing your world. The law offices of Domingo Garcia, the lawyer that works for justice. And by Senior Care Centers, the heart of nursing care is here.
One hell of a job, and the only thing else I get to say is, how about them Cowboys?
How about those Dallas Cowboys? How that brings us back 25 years ago, back to 1992, marking the resurgence of that once proud NFL franchise, having gone 20 consecutive seasons with a winning record from 1966 through 1985. Having played in 5 Super Bowls during the 70s, winning 2. And in those 2 NFL championships in 1966 and 1967 that initially announced their emergence in the NFL. Can it really be 25 years ago the Cowboys then emerged from their period of darkness, one remembered for losing 3 consecutive NFC title games to start the 80s? Having gone through 6 straight losing seasons, marked by the 3-13 year of 1988, leading to the sale of the Cowboys to Jerry Jones, the firing of legendary coach Tom Landry, and the hiring of that college coach Jimmy Johnson. And then their reign beginning in 1989 with a 1-15 season. Those tough times erased that year of 1992 by winning Super Bowl 27, obliterating the 3-time AFC champion Buffalo Bills that idyllic day, January 31st, 1993, at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California.
I'm gonna tell you, man, and all my life, and I get cheer bumps now, even knowing I'm about to start talking about it, nothing. You will experience nothing like what we experienced winning that first Super Bowl. And I always say this, that it means that much because of what we've gone through the first few years. And we had completed the journey. We completed the journey. You went from 3-13, 1-15, to a few years later, we were in our first Super Bowl. I did not leave that locker room until the janitors left. They said, man, it's the last one there. It was incredible. There's no rest of my life, you'll never have that feeling. And I love my kids. And right here, people always say, well, this is, besides having my kids, that was the greatest feeling I ever had. I love my kids. Winning that first Super Bowl was the greatest feeling I ever had. Period.
Michael does not kid. The Cowboys were NFL laughingstocks after Jimmy and Jerry's first season, winning only the 1 game. Ask deep snapper Dale Hellestray, the former SMU Mustang, traded to the Cowboys from the Raiders in 1990.
Well, it's interesting because, people nowadays kind of forget what it was like back then. And Dallas was not even a blip on the radar. And he said, we've traded you. And I said, okay, to who? And he said the Dallas Cowboys. But if you just said that things ended up the way they were, we wouldn't have believed it.
The Cowboys would finish that 1990 season on an uptick, going 7-9, the 6-win improvement, one of the biggest jumps in NFL modern-day history. In fact, they finished 1 win shy, or a New Orleans loss, from grabbing the final wild card playoff berth. Then came another gigantic leap forward, improving to 11-5 in 1991, grabbing that wild card playoff berth and actually beating the Bears in Chicago in the first round before losing to Detroit in the divisional playoffs. One and all credited that improvement to Jimmy Johnson's hiring of Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, replacing Dave Shula while taking the job knowing he had Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin at his disposal.
Well, there were 2 things I absolutely knew for sure, and one was Troy Aikman. I saw him play. I was coaching with the Rams. I saw him play in college, so I'm on TV a lot. Knew that obviously he was a great player, and obviously he was the first pick in the draft. But the other guy, Emmitt, I remember watching Florida play on TV, and I think it was Emmitt's sophomore year, and I remember going down to the brunch we had and talking to Ernie Zampese and saying, I just saw this running back from Florida, and he is really special.
So was Norv.
I don't know if we wouldn't have had Norv Turner as our offensive coordinator, I don't know if we would have been the same team. I really don't. And I think Jimmy for having the foresight to really truly bring Norv in and to bring an offense that was balanced, an offense that was suitable for Troy and myself and Michael and Jay and everybody to do our thing.
The coach that was here before him, I'm not gonna call his name, great mind, but the pieces didn't fit. Chess is where you have to think 3 moves ahead, and that's Norv. That's Norv. He was a chess man. He's a chess master. He could take the weakest piece and know how to move it around on defense, know when to expose this part, know when to make things happen. And Norv, he was that final piece.
Well, there was one more piece to go. Funny how losing can become inspirational. So the Dallas Cowboys lost their final game in 1991 to Detroit in the second round of the playoffs, 38-6. Though advancing that far, despite Troy Aikman suffering a sprained knee in Game 12 at Washington. Backup Steve Berline finished off the win over the then undefeated Redskins and led the Cowboys to 4 straight wins for an 11-5 finish to the regular season and the victory over Chicago before all came crashing down against the Lions. Confidence, though, was brimming to start 1992.
Even the coaches were celebrating. Jimmy came in because he was talking to the other head coach. When he came in and he looked in, because I'm looking at it, he opened the door and he see us all in there celebrating. Jimmy takes that door, man, and slams it like a bomb went off in there. And he said, you all are satisfied with this? We lost this game. I don't give about no playoffs, this, that, and that. He said, we're better than this. We're going to have a different offseason. We're going to work harder, and we're going further next year. We're a better team than this. And from that day on, we walked out of there with a different attitude, a different mindset. I remember like it yesterday, man.
Then a moonbeam landed in the Cowboys' lap. They sorely needed a pass-rushing defensive end. And lo and behold, the Saturday before the first week of the season, then scouting director Larry Lacewell, basically alone in his office at Valley Ranch, answers the phone. The San Francisco 49ers were calling. They had had enough of Charles Haley and wanted to trade him. Larry would say later he nearly dropped the phone in astonishment. Jimmy and Jerry couldn't send the Niners a second and third round pick fast enough for the Pro Bowl defensive end, who eventually would be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame with 5 Super Bowl rings.
And we went out and got Charles Haley, and the rest was catered by the dough, baby.
The Cowboys now had a defense to go with those guys who had become known as their eventual Hall of Fame triplets, Troy, Emmett, and Michael. See, the unforgotten fact of this season, overshadowed by the Cowboys' potent offense, was the defense, finishing ranked #1 in the NFL.
That season, we were one of the youngest teams in the league. We didn't have a Pro Bowl player on our defense. Charles Haley came into us there the week before the first game. We were a young group. It was, and we had a lot of guys. You know, Tony Casillas came in from another team. You had the young Russell Marylands. Kenny Norton was playing 2 or 3 different positions. You know, we picked up Thomas Everett from another team, James Washington, Ray Horton, all these guys. And to bring them all together and kind of, you know, the old expression, one heartbeat. Hey, everybody's comes from a little different circumstances, but for us to do this, we've got to pull this thing together.
Let the mind control the body, not the body controlling the mind.
These young Cowboys were off to the races, posting the best record in franchise history, 13-3, winning the NFC East for the first time since 1985 and earning home field advantage in the playoffs. They easily dismissed the Eagles in the first round and now had to play the 14-2 San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Park on a rain-soaked, re-sodded mud bath of a field.
Not exactly a beautiful day, but hopefully it will be here in about 4 hours.
Yes, the 49ers, featuring Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Ricky Waters, Michael Carter, that bunch. These Cowboys were too young to even know better, Even though coming into the huge game, underdogs, most saying the Cowboys were 1 year away.
I don't think there was ever any doubt in our mind that we could win that football game. We had played well on the road that year, and we knew that if we played our game, there's nobody that we should be afraid of.
They were brash and they were aggressive. Rookie corner Kevin Smith even got into a little pushing match with Jerry Rice. The game was tied 10-10 at halftime. Early in the fourth quarter of this heavyweight bout, Troy hits Emmett underneath for a 12-yard touchdown. Cowboys 24-13. The Niners then pulled to 24-20, just 4:22 to play. The Cowboys had the ball, 1st and 10 at their own 21. And Jimmy, the same guy who told his team when needing to win that game against the undefeated Redskins in 1991 that if you're going up against a big old gorilla, you had better hit him with everything you got.
You know, when you ever go after a big gorilla, you don't ever hit him lightly. You hit him with everything you got. Yeah!
Norv Turner then pulled out the big stick. First play, and most of us will never forget it, with the Niners crowding the line, figuring the Cowboys would try to salt the game away with Emmett up the middle.
When the 49ers pulled within a score late in the game and we were backed up, to me, it just was a testament to the greatness of Norv Turner. That was the post on the backside to Alvin Harper that iced that game for us was a thing of beauty. He's not the primary receiver, but Norv Turner always built in that option if we had the right look and if the quarterback had the confidence, the quarterback had the freedom to make that throw. And Troy never hesitated. He saw the look, we're backed up in our own into the field, terrible conditions, the crowd's going crazy, and Troy just delivers a laser on the money. It was just one of the most beautiful plays at one of the biggest points in any of our careers. And to be there to witness it was absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely. Harper going 70 yards to the Niners' 9-yard line. 2 plays later, Aikman to Kelvin Martin, touchdown. Ball game, NFC Championship, on to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl now just 3 years following 1-15.
And I think one of the things that a lot of people forget is a lot of people felt we were still a year, maybe 2 years away from really challenging San Francisco. So I always say that game at Candlestick Park was the best game that group ever played. And again, getting as close to perfection as you possibly could.
And with that, a 30-20 victory for the Cowboys and a first NFC title since 1978, a long 15 seasons ago. Jimmy just couldn't contain himself.
That was a great moment for the simple reason we knew we were going to get a ring.
So during that raucous post-game press conference in a cramped interview room, just down from an even more raucous locker room, Jimmy made a headline, a soundbite that will live in infamy in Cowboys lore.
How about them Cowboys?
Indeed, how about them Cowboys, heading back to the Super Bowl. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys were back in the Super Bowl, waking up all those echoes from the past. This became more than just a game. Folks were falling over backwards to secure tickets to the big game. Suddenly, names like Lilly and Pearson and Garrison and Renfro and Dorsett and White and Staubach were back in the news. Landry and Schramm, too.
You know, the 90s resurrected the history of the Cowboys, too. In the 70s, we had some good years, and they took it to another level in the 90s, and that's how Cowboy history is still Cowboy history.
The Cowboys arrived at their Santa Monica, California headquarters hotel, immediate underdogs. Too young, too inexperienced, again. Why, the Buffalo Bills were 3-time AFC champs. They were due. They supposedly knew what the Cowboys did not. The 11-5 Bills, an AFC wildcard team, didn't know what these young Cowboys, brimming in confidence, knew, that they were the better team.
The thing I remember the most is how confident we were. We knew we were going to win the game. We knew once we beat the 49ers out there in the NFC Championship game, we knew the ring was ours. Really, the thrill that year was beating San Francisco because they were probably a better team. But we were the better team that day.
That game was over before it began almost. It was a testimony to the confidence that Jimmy had instilled in our team. We believed that we belonged out there with anybody, that we shouldn't take a backseat to anybody.
The game meant so much to many people, especially with the game being in L.A. That was a homecoming for the likes of Larry Brown, along with James Washington and Ken Norton Jr., the three having gone to high school in Los Angeles.
Well, I remember it especially because it was in L.A. I'm from Los Angeles. It was at UCLA, which was my college. Then we played at the Rose Bowl, which was my home field at college. So I really remember it, very vividly. But it was fun. We practiced hard because that's how we did it.
For one guy, though, Super Bowl 27 was bittersweet. Special teams ace Bill Bates, who made the Cowboys roster back in 1983 as a rookie free agent, had torn his ACL 5 games into the season and was placed on injured reserve. After all those years, Bates could not play.
I knew they weren't going to let me play, but I was going to steal a helmet, steal somebody's uniform so I could play in the game. I could get one play. They wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me get on with that.
The buildup, the hype, the glitz of a Hollywood backdrop, the heart-pounding flyover, Michael Jackson singing at halftime, Jimmy, Jerry, Troy, Michael, NFL rushing champ Emmett, the league's #1 ranked defense, all in the famed Rose Bowl. The Super Bowl spectacle almost made the game anticlimactic as it turned out. As we know, the Cowboys would win 52-17, not even close. Troy was the MVP with 4 touchdown passes. Michael would catch 2 of them. Emmett would rush for 108 yards and a touchdown. The defense would score 2 touchdowns and would have had 3 had Leon Lett not held out the ball at the 1-yard line. That defense knocked Bills quarterback Jim Kelly out of the game. Those unheralded defenders set an NFL record with an unheard of 9 takeaways in one game. But after a shaky start by the young Cowboys, this game turned 4 plays into the second quarter. The Cowboys leading just 14-7, and the Bills facing 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line. The Cowboys, knowing the Bills had future Hall of Famer Thurman Thomas and Kenneth Davis of TCU at running back. Isn't that right, Ken Norton?
So they ran to our right. It was Kenneth Davis, myself, running as fast as we can to get to that goal line. We met full speed, and we faced up. It was a matter of all the culmination of years of struggle, of work, of weightlifting, of running, all the work. It was a strain. How hard can I strain to make this tackle? And I was able to make it, and it changed the game.
It sure did, because after failing to punch it in on 3 plays, starting at the 4, Jim Kelly then tried to pass. Cowboys safety Thomas Everett picking him off in the end zone. 2 Aikman touchdown passes to Irvin within 2 minutes at the end of the half put the Cowboys up 28-10. Let the celebration begin.
What a ride it's been. Troy Aikman's the MVP. Jimmy Johnson's taken his team from the absolute worst to the absolute best in 4 years. And Dallas, your Cowboys are the champions. The final score in Super Bowl 27. The Cowboys 52 and the Buffalo Bills.
You catch 22 and you still ain't caught them yet.
Players and coaches, hey, understand this. As much as you relish being the best, as much as you relish that, as good as it feels, the best thing that you've got and what you'll have the rest of your life is the love that you've got for one another, because that's what got you here, is being a total team. And that feeling is something you'll never ever lose.
The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show, presented by Senior Care Centers, was brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by Senior Care Centers. The heart of nursing care is here.
Jimmy Johnson was right. The Cowboys would remember that Super Bowl 27 victory the rest of their lives. And as he put it, the love you've got for one another. So here it was. February 25th, 2017, 25 years later. Troy Aikman organizes a 25-year reunion celebration of Super Bowl 27. But who would have known back then that memorable day in Pasadena, California, the Cowboys would also include, during this reunion at Gilley's in downtown Dallas, those who participated in their Super Bowl 28 and Super Bowl 30 victories. The Cowboys becoming the first team in NFL history to win 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year span. One by one, those Cowboys returned. Some seeing each other for the first time in umpteen years, walking the blue carpet for what also was a fundraiser for the United Way.
So I get to relive it through these moments, but he's like a kid going back to his high school reunion.
They all were like kids, going back 25 years.
You know, it's awesome, man. You know, most of the guys got kids now, and we see each other at soccer games, so I think it's awesome that Troy pulled this together and got everybody back out.
You know, this is kind of like going back for your 20-year high school reunion, just to go back and see how much everybody has changed and to reacquaint those relationships. And you know, some of these guys haven't seen since the early 90s, so it's been 25 plus years. So
it's amazing. There's people here that I haven't seen in over a decade. I just saw Alan Weingrad, and you know, our time here in Dallas was a lot of fun, and he was one of my good friends, and I haven't seen Alan in probably 10 years.
It's great. It's a great celebration of you know, all the years, you know, all the you know, everything that we put into that 92, 93, 94, 95 season. You know, the process, the winning, you know, the bond that we developed, that locker room. I mean, it's going to be like a locker room environment in here, just seeing some of the guys.
And for most of the players and coaches, it was so great to see the 2 ringmasters back together, Jimmy and Jerry, cutting up just like old times during their journey beginning in 1989 and culminating with those back-to-back Super Bowl victories in 1992 and 1993.
These guys haven't changed a bit. Nate Newton's got a little weight off of him, but still, to me, they just haven't changed at all. Jimmy, to me, is the same old 17-year-old that I met when we were freshmen and sophomores at University of Arkansas. Barry's still the coach. All of those things are really just bring back those great memories.
That first of the 3, Super Bowl 27 at the Rose Bowl, January 31st, 1993. For sure, these Cowboys were back in town. So one last time, for posterity's sake, Jimmy, it's all yours.
How about them Cowboys?